Welcome to my video. I get a lot of requests for auto repairs on diesel trucks and air conditioning. Well, this is my personal F350 and had an AC condenser with a hole in it. So some of the tools and stuff you're going to need, and if you haven't already let the Freon out, you need to take it somewhere and have it reclaimed, service station or something. Mine let itself out with a hole in it. Some of the tools you need, I got this from Harbor Freight to pop the little plastic rivets out of the access cover to get to the condenser. Just kind of wedge it up underneath of there and pop those out. They're reusable if you don't break them. The AC condenser is right beneath that, and you'll have to remove your hood latch. There's two 5/16 inch bolts that go through that. Just move that out of the way. Take your cover off. There you can see my condenser. That's two 13mm nuts. Need to remove those. Those are 5/16. Take the top brackets off, and then it just sits in a cradle. Move those to the side. It's pretty easy to get to this thing. You back over here to your 13mm nuts, one for the top hose and one for the bottom hose. Just pop those off of there. You got some O-rings on there. I'd suggest replacing those while you got it open. Like I say, you'll need to have the refrigerant removed if it hasn't already been let out. Pull those to the side and lift that right out. I ordered a new one on eBay, about 60 bucks. There's where the hole was in mine. There's a feed that sits in the cradles on the bottom. And there's your little push rivets that hold the access cover on. Several of those on the top and on the bottom that mounts on the grill. There's the back side of the grill. Nothing fancy to them, just a little plastic rivet. Might have to use some needle nose to help get them out. There's just a little cover that covered up those fittings. And here's my new condenser. Came in about 3 or 4 days. Looks pretty close to the original. It's made in China though, it's not a Motorcraft. It was sealed up good in the box. They had charged it with nitrogen with those little plates on it. When I removed those, there's 2 rubber plugs and had pressure on it, so I know it didn't have a hole in it. $14mm wrench to remove those little nuts that were on there with those plates. I did have to take the studs out of my old AC condenser, and I put a little Loctite on those. The blue Loctite, so it's removable. I screwed those in until they bottomed out. And that's a 5/16 inch socket. Sorry for the up close. It's hard to do stuff with one hand and film with the other. You can see the new one sitting in place there and the brackets installed. I did put a little lube on the O-rings there to help ease that installation of those without pinching them. I did not replace my top one. I did replace the bottom O-ring. Take you about 6 pack of those or so. Get the job done. Here's some of the tools you need. You'll need a set of 134 gauges. You can see I got it in a vacuum. I borrowed a vacuum pump from work to pull a vacuum on this. Not a bad idea if you have access to it. If you have nitrogen, you can put on it and check for leaks with a bubble test. Kind of squirt a little detergent or something, dish soap around the fittings, see if anything bubbles or leaks. If so, you need to replace your O-rings. That's 13mm wrench for those nuts. That's your high side there. The hoses will only fit on one direction. You can't fit the low side on the high or vice versa. And that's putting the cover back on, pushing your push pins back in, your pop rivets, push rivets. Have to tap them a little bit if they won't push in easily. And that cable goes underneath of that, and to screw that back on with those 2 5/16. And I use the same marks. You don't want to get it higher because then your hood won't close right. So kind of just go by. I had some wear marks there as I'm pointing out, and I just followed that. And so the hood doesn't have to be adjusted or setting up too high or too low. All the rivets back in place. And I pull the vacuum on it for a good bit before I charge it. There's some of the tools you need, some metric wrenches, screwdrivers, ratchet, socket set.